Hey guys, and welcome to another DJ's video. Today we're going to talk about Cartoon Network before the whole debacle of a certain show which I hate. Teen Titans Go. So, back in the day, when Cartoon Network was huge, there was cartoons, just wicked little cartoons. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the cartoons that were basically, on before cartoons, or what a cartoon, as they called them, before that. So, before that, they had Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Tom and Jerry, just the classics. Scooby-Doo even was on there. And I loved it. It was a Saturday, watching Saturday morning cartoons all over again. But there was a special couple of blocks. There was Toonami, which was basically anime. It had Sailor Moon. It had Voltron. It had, what was the other one I used to watch? Oh, Thundercats. It was just a great cartoon block. Now, and Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball was on there too. And Dragon Ball Z, when it came over to the West. Of course, this was before, and then they also had Space Ghost Coast to Coast, which was basically the Muppets. But it was animated, and it was pretty dang good. Like, they had guest stars. I think one of my favorite, some of my favorite skits involved Space Ghost, which is the main good guy. And by the way, he even had an anime at one time called Space Ghost. Just called Space Ghost. And he had three villains: Zorak, Moltar, and I don't remember his name. Hang on. I gotta look up the other villain. And Brack. Now, Zorak was always behind the keyboard, and he always antagonized Space Ghost. The other two, they really did in the Space Ghost Coast to Coast. But then Moltar, they decided to let him be the host of Toonami. And, by the way, rest in peace. I don't remember his name either. The guy that played Moltar. He died not too long ago. It's kind of sad to know that one of the best Cartoon Network villain voices died. Then Cartoon Network started showing cartoons. There was a little sorts called Cartoons That Never Made It. Now, what that was it would show you cartoons that were just too kooky. I don't think they were even thinking about maybe making these into cartoons. There was Salt and Slug, Frosty Dog, I don't remember, something in the old lords, I don't remember the name of it. And I think there was one more. But those were just cartoons that Yes, they were making parodies. Heather the Yodeler. Heidi the Yodelers. Heidi and the Yodelers. That's the name of it. But then came What a Cartoon. Now, What a Cartoon featured cartoons like Powerpuff Girls. Yes, that's how they got their start. They started out as just short episodes on What a Cartoon. Cow and Chicken, same with them. Johnny Bravo, I think, started on that. Dexter's Laboratory. And then Cartoon Network decided, hey, why don't we make this into cartoons? Some of them were kind of a little bit of a failure, but some of them were downright funny. Dexter's Laboratory, for example, was one of my favorite cartoons. And there was a banned episode that got banned after the first. Actually, I don't think it ever aired until Adult Swim picked it up. I think it was Rude Behavior or something like that. And it was basically Dexter and Dee Dee both separated from their rude counterpart. Took all the rudeness out, and they became real beings. Cow and Chicken probably was the most, I guess, it was definitely one of the weirdest cartoons. Of course, we had shows like Cat Dog, back when that was on too. But we'll talk about Nick cartoons another time. But there was also a show called The Adventures of Billy and Mandy, which originally was called Grim and Evil. The reason why it was called Grim and Evil is because the first half featured... Oh, by the way, this wasn't the only show that had another cartoon featured in it. Cow and Chicken did too, called Iron Weasel, which turned into its own cartoon, and I'm telling you, it flew. It was great. But Grim and Evil was basically Grim vs. Billy and Mandy was one half of the cartoon block, and the one half of the show, and then Evil Con Carne, which was this brain on a bear's head, trying to basically rule the world. It was crazy. There was a couple of episodes that probably you would laugh at, and so they were like, what? And they made parodies of Scooby-Doo. Johnny Bravo did that too, and we'll talk about him in a minute. But they made parodies of Scooby-Doo. They made parodies of... What's the name of that? Oh, Harry Potter. There was a character in the cartoon where he basically, just like Harry Potter, had a marking on his head, which is a smudge or something, I don't remember. And he had a villain's name, which you could not say. Just like Lord Voldemort, you dare not say his name either, because bad things happen. His name was Lord Moldy Butt. And every time someone said something, everything fell apart. If you said it, well, like, it was an ongoing gag when this Harry Potter ripoff came up. I told you not to say that! What? Lord Moldy Butt! Even mentioning his last name can cause problems. There's an episode where they go to see Lord Moldy Butt By the way, don't worry, my stuff's not going to break because I said his name. That's just a myth. But anyway, Billy is getting ready to sit down, and he's going to sit down on a toadstool. And no, it was a chair. I think it was like had mold on it. Benny goes, Billy, don't sit on that. You'll get a moldy butt. So not just mention his name, mention his last name could cause problems. I've talked about this in long lengths during my Scooby-Doo marathon last year, Scooby-Tober, but Johnny Bravo also had an episode where Scooby-Doo, and by the way, guess what the show was made? Who the show was made by? Hanna-Barbera. So, yeah, it made sense that Johnny Bravo and Scooby-Doo both teamed up. And Johnny Bravo, he was basically a guy trying to be Elvis. And fairly terribly. And there are 3 seasons. I only like the first 2 seasons. And the 3rd season, I don't know. I just couldn't see it anymore. Now, Dexter's Laboratory, that series was good for a while, but as seasons went on, it didn't do very well. It also made fun of cartoons, of popular shows back in the 80s. Power Rangers. Yes, I'm not kidding. And Voltron. I'm not kidding. There's an episode where they formed this big giant robot. I swear. And the theme song is Go Dexter's Finally Go. And you can kind of guess where that came from. And then there's an episode, and then this also had another actually 2 cartoons that were in the cartoon itself. Down in for Monkey, which was basically this monkey who is a superhero that lives in Dexter's Laboratory. And then the Justice Friends, which, if you see this cartoon, tell me that this cartoon is, I'm not wrong about this. It makes fun of the Avengers. I'm not kidding. It's got Major Glory, who is basically Captain America. Is a parody of Captain America. Valhalla, which is a parody of Thor, obviously. And Vagabond Kronk, who obviously is a parody of the Incredible Hulk. He even looks like him. He's a bumbling idiot. And the cartoon's great. You know, like I said, there was a lot of art cartoons that back then that made fun of art cartoons as well. We'll talk about the Nickelodeon ones when we get to them. Oh, let's see what else was there. There was on back when Cartoon Network, before the whole Teen Titans thing. There was another cartoon that I really liked. I don't remember its name. Oh, Hi Puffy Yummy Yumi. That show was great. It was basically a Japanese girl band. I'm not kidding, it was. And it was a pretty good adventure. It was just them going on adventures. There was an episode where one of them turns back the clock. Well, no, he turns the clock up. One of them turns the clock upwards. And it basically messes with the other band members' timing. It's funny. And of course, we'll talk about shows like Batman and Teen Titans. The good Teen Titans, not the one now, obviously. But, and Hi Hi Puffy Amiyumi was kind of at the end of cartoons. Because they was, transitioning into Adult Swim. Again, I'll talk about those cartoons eventually. There was, and then there was Courage the Cowardly Dog. Again, I talked about that cartoon a little bit about it because it's in Scooby told me. And maybe next year I'll talk about all the episodes of Courage the Cowardly Dog. It's pretty good. That and the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, or Grim and Evil, which is what it was called at the time, I was kind of on the fence about it, because whereas Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Grim and Evil, had an episode where he's just basically, trying to take a hamster, which became the pilot of the show. Courage the Cowardly Dog had the weirdest pilot, and that became the weirdest cartoon episode. And it was basically the farmer turned into a chicken. It was called The Chicken from Outer Space. And it was weird. Look it up. I'm telling you, you might want to rethink letting your kids watch it if you watch Courage the Cowardly Dog with Scooby-Doo. Because this show is kind of weird. There was villains that were just strange. Like Cats, which was a cat. And because it was a cat, obviously he didn't want dogs around. Le Quack, who was basically a duck, who was a villain. Let's see. Freaky Barber. That one really is weird. His name was Fred. Why did he call him that? I don't know. But there were a few good episodes, like there was this guy who was basically, there was some really good, feel good episodes. Like there was an episode where this guy takes Muriel and Eustace's, I think it's their shadows, and makes them come alive. I'll talk about that next year. I'm going to do a Courage the Cowardly Dog marathon, like I did for Scooby-Doo last year. And there weren't very many good cartoons back then. We got Scooby-Doo. We got Scooby-Doo beat Scrappy-Doo. Scooby-Doo, Scrappy-Doo. I talked a lot about those in long lengths. But it really blows my mind that nowadays Cartoon Network they're in trouble. According to people on YouTube, they're in deep water right now with the content. Warner Brothers is not happy with them. They're not happy with them. It kind of saddens me that Cartoon Network has sunk so deep into the ground. And I want the old Cartoon Network back. I want shows like Ed and Eddie. I want Courage the Cowardly Dog. I want Flapjack, for crying out loud. Flapjack is a good cartoon. And again, we'll talk about those in my more recent Cartoon Network cartoons in a later date. And we'll also talk about the live action shows. Some of them were good, but it's Cartoon Network. It's supposed to be cartoons, not live action. See you guys next time. Like, subscribe, share. I'll see you guys on the next video.